Dear Kismet helps you dive into the mysteries behind cardology, or the astrology and numerology of the playing cards. We answer questions from our tribe and discuss world events and celebrities, all through the lens of this magical, ancient system. Our goal? To help you align with what is written in your cards and to raise the collective consciousness of the planet. If you go to our website, itiskismet.com, and enter your birthday, you'll get to your card's one-stop shop where you will find a 15-page report on your card and much, much more. You can also go to our site to find the cosmic connections, also known as the planetary energies, between you and another person. Now is the time for cardology to become as encoded in the collective energy as astrology and numerology are. So please tell your friends about Kismet. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the next episode of Dear Kismet. I'm Laura.
Hi, everybody. I'm Candy.
I'm Paula.
And we are going to jump right into this theme of this episode. This episode is all about how to see intimate relationships through the lens of the cards. So there are several different things we're going to be going into, several different aspects of the relationships or the way the cards relate to each other that you can kind of dive into your own cards and see if you have any people in your life that have those aspects to you. So as the video goes along, we'll be telling you how you're going to find these connections between you and another person.
Right. So the cards teach us about the work that we have to do as individuals. And a lot of that work comes from the interactions we have in our relationships. I know for me personally, I can honestly say that pretty much all the work that I've had to do has shown itself through relationship. I mean, if you think about your family, you think about your partners, both current and past, think about friends, bosses, even celebrity crushes, all those relationships have connections based on the energy that runs between the cards.
So as I mentioned before, one of the things you can do, or we've mentioned in other videos, is get on our website and look up your cosmic connections with another person. So you're going to have different energies running between you and another person. And then when things get a little more complicated, we'll kind of tell you about how you might find those. And sometimes it might actually be that you just need a reading to be able to figure out what these connections are.
All this got started because we had a viewer ask, Dear Kismet, can you tell if a relationship is a soulmate or a twin flame connection in the cards? Paula, enlighten us.
I'm going to start out by saying LOL. So no, you actually cannot tell from the cards if it's a twin flame connection. So what can we learn? There is a lot of information on the table about every relationship, and twin flame connections show up in all different kinds. So that's just for you to know within yourself, but you can learn a lot about the specific lessons and dynamics that you have in your relationship. So let's dive into that.
So if the cards can't tell us if someone is a twin flame or a soulmate, what can they tell us about the powerful relationships that people experience?
Okay, so let's start with the karma card. You can find your karma card when you get your kit, which is on your one-stop shop page. So Paula, can you explain to us what exactly is a karma card and how it affects your relationships?
Yes, there are two different versions of a karma card. One seems to indicate that this is something you've achieved already, and another seems to indicate this is work that you still have to do. And in terms of a relationship, when someone is your karma card, it always means that there's a balancing that needs to happen. Like maybe he killed you in a past life, or you left him because it got rough. Maybe he's your soulmate or not. It doesn't matter what you call it. What's important is that you have work to do together. And sometimes that lesson is easy and sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's actually really beautiful and fruitful, and you came together to just fill it out and say, let's actually have a long life together this time. And sometimes there's a lot of forgiveness involved.
Have you experienced a karmic relationship, Paula, with your karma card? You're in the circle of seven, so you have a lot of that going on anyway.
Yeah, the circle of seven
It's
is a different category, so we'll get back to that. But have you experienced a karmic relationship?
It was a nightmare.
Somebody
Nightmare.
who was your karma card.
Yeah, somebody I was dating, although it was like, you could hardly say it was really dating. So it was just, I don't know, a lot of heartbreak. And I think a lot of clearing, like a lot of emotional clearing that I went through with that. But yeah. So Candy, do you want to give us some celebrities that?
Ooh, yeah,
this
is really fun to look at. So much fun, in fact, that we included in each report and the Cosmic Connections a list of celebrities, thought leaders, famous characters throughout history that have the same card or connections with each other. So here's some examples. Romantic connections, we've got Dana Reeve and Christopher Reeve, which was a beautiful relationship. Jennifer Aniston and Brad Pitt, which was literally beautiful until it fell apart and we were all brokenhearted. Jennifer Lopez, Sean Diddy Combs, never understood that one. Kurt Russell and Goldie Hawn, beautiful. Seal and Heidi Klum, they were actually just on America's Got Talent or something. She's a permanent judge, he was a guest judge, and I was like, how is this gonna go down? Like, they're divorced. They were like best friends. It was so cool. Taylor Swift and Connor Kennedy. Sorry, Connor, just get in line. You're going to be one of many. When we look at friends, collaborators, rivals, colleagues, so anything that kind of falls outside of that relationship category, we have fun stuff like Aretha Franklin and Carole King, Donald Trump and Rudy Giuliani, who were kind of frenemies throughout this whole election cycle that we just went through. Justin Timberlake and Pharrell Williams, talk about some magic musical genius. Matt Lauer, Howard Stern, what? Mary J. Blige, Notorious B.I.G., and Michelle Obama and John Legend, to name a few. Switch gears slightly and jump over to the circle of seven that Paula and Laura mentioned earlier. It's a fixed and semi-fixed set of cards. Board as much as other cards. Laura, can you tell us which 7 cards comprise the circle of 7?
Can I jump in really quick here? I want to go back to the karmic relationship thing, and so you may be asking yourself, okay, this person is my karma card. What's up with that? How do I know? Or you're looking back at an old relationship. A very telling feature is that when the work is done, the relationship sometimes ends. And there is a sense of completion and satisfaction. And then because you made this contract on the other side, there's a great deal of love there. And all but one of my former relationships, there is such a deep love and a friendship. So that's actually really common. I think if you've successfully navigated the work you had to do, it's very likely that you'll be really good pals afterwards. Okay, circle of 7.
So that's what I saw. That's what I saw between Heidi and Seal then.
Bingo.
They were best chums. It was so beautiful. And I found myself thinking, well, why did they divorce? But that makes sense. They finished their work.
Yeah.
They finished their work. Yeah, thanks, Paula. Okay, so let's get back to the circle of 7. So if you recognize one of these cards as your card, then you can go, you probably already know if you got your report, it talks about the circle of 7 in there, or you can go to our Cardology 101 playlist on YouTube and see the video about the circle of 7 on there. And if you really want to learn more about the circle of 7, you can come with Paula and I to Vegas in October, where she is going to speak about it because she knows all about this circle because her card is one of the circle of 7 cards. So we're going to start with the list here. For the clubs, we have the ace and the 8. For the hearts, we have the 2, the 9, and the jack. We have the 7, and then we have the king of spades. So this is Paula's expertise. So she is going to jump in and tell us what it's like for 2 people. First of all, for 2 people who have a circle of 7 connection, what's it like for them to be in a relationship?
Okay, so circle of 7 connections seem to have a particular intensity about them that other relationships don't. And I hesitate to say that because life is super challenging and relationships are super intense for everybody. But the circle of 7 intensity, there seems to be like a hyper focus. If you've ever heard of the description of someone with ADD, they can't focus or they have a hyper focus. That's something that's been made really clear to me, is that they are here to get something. And they seem to be almost narrow in a lot of other ways, and that's why we call them fixed and semi-fixed, is that they have these natures that seem a little strange to other people at times because they're so focused on a certain thing. So when they come together with each other, what it is it's a buffet. It's like a buffet. For every circle of 7 person, you have 7 cards that you are here to consume, like in your buffet. And when that particular other circle of 7 person comes in, then suddenly you have to eat that thing. The buffet presents it to you and says, okay, here's the issue you have to work on now. And it just becomes super, super intense. And they sometimes they're left scratching their heads going, why the fuck is this connection so over the top? And that's why. It's because the work is really, really, it's really challenging.
Cool. So speaking of Circle of Seven, we've got celebrity connections for those too. We found people who have worked together in some capacity that exists within the Circle of Seven, like Amy Poehler and Maya Rudolph. Insert laugh track. Saturday Night Live together. Duh, that was a bullet underneath. We've got J. Edgar Hoover and Dwight D. Eisenhower. Awesome, but not as exciting as the first two. And then, yeah, Paula discovered have interesting Circle of Seven connections. Katharine Hepburn and Spencer Tracy, Kevin Bacon and Kara Sedgwick. Paula, tell us about those.
Okay, so yes, it was really fun to dig into these romantic couples that have these intense connections, because I'm going to use Kevin Bacon and Kara Sedgwick first. They're probably kind of low intensity in a certain way, and that it's not drama. We don't see a lot of drama because we don't hear about them because they're doing great. And so one explanation for that is that they have a very strong semi-fixed pair connection. So the 9 of Hearts and the 7 of Diamonds switch places, which means those two cards have a particular connection. Kevin Bacon is the 7 of Diamonds, and Kira Sedgwick, even though she's the 7 of Clubs, she doesn't know her ascendant, and she's a Leo. And so I was like, okay, what's her planetary ruler? And I found that she has 2 planets in Cancer, and they're both relationship planets, the Moon and Venus. And so I was like, she has a very strong Cancer influence, which makes the 9 of Hearts a really strong influence for her. So there's just this beautiful mirroring that goes on between them. The nice thing about the semi-fixed cards is that there's a feeling of counterpoint. They're not exactly the same. It's like they blend into each other, sometimes so seamlessly that I have a really hard time separating them out and separating, okay, this is the 7 of Diamonds and this is the 9 of Hearts. They're so merged. So when they come together, there is this amazing sense of completion in ways that they can't even explain. Another couple is Katharine Hepburn and Spencer Tracy. He's not in the Circle of Seven, but he's right next to a Circle of Seven card, so it's just obvious. And it's the same pair, actually, 7 of Diamonds, 9 of Hearts. And you can tell with them that even though they couldn't stay together, and that is often the case because it's so intense, they stayed in love for their whole lives. That was that one great romance that just defined both of them as people. So there are a couple examples.
Yeah, so early on, when Paula was mentoring Laura and teaching her the cards, and of course, then I got to experience everything that Laura was learning vicariously, we decided to have a little experiment and go through Facebook. You know how you can see all the birthdays. And we looked for people that had the same card. Through mine, Laura went through hers. And I was excited because I thought maybe I would get a little insight into myself through the lens of being friends with someone else that had the same card. And I think we both had the same reaction, which was, oh, I don't really like that person. Oh my God, he's an ass. Oh my God, she's horrible. Like it was just so crazy to see your card reflected back to you. It was not the experience. We did not get the conclusion from the experiment that we were expecting.
I was like, oh, that person? Oh, that person? Oh, God, what am I doing? Back to me, and what is the deal here? So Paula's going to tell us a little bit about what that reflection is all about.
Okay, so we have a really great example of how bad it can be. Charlie Sheen and Denise Richards are both the Ace of Diamonds, which can be, all aces can be narcissists, and you know who you are. It's just true. So depending on how much you're at peace with yourself, it can be a wonderful connection. In fact, I know another couple who are both the Ace of Diamonds, and they're actually the people that trained me in past life regression, and they've been together for a long, long time, in fact, many, many lifetimes. And they've chosen to be the Ace of Diamonds, both of them this time around, and it's like they knew what they were doing. They're older souls, and man, does it give them an intense, intuitive connection. differentiation is a really important piece of work to do there too. It's like, yeah, we're the same card, we have the same issues, we're doing all this reflecting, but I'm not you. That's really important to do that in that connection. So Charlie Sheen and Denise Richards, we can assume there was a lot of self-hatred going on there. And you just look at them and you can kind of see that. And because there was all that self-hatred, there was a lot of unowned material about what their issues were. And then here's this gigantic mirror just shouting it back at them. And whenever there's something uncomfortable in yourself that you push away, when it shows up in another person, you can't stand the reflection. You don't know it's a reflection. You think it's all about them. So if you find yourself in a same birth card relationship, you better be asking yourself constantly, is this my shit or is this their shit? And it's probably your shit. If it feels like shit, it's your shit. So own it and love yourself and say, I'm going to figure this out.
Yeah. That's so true. Oh, whoa.
Yes, so we've talked about the birth cards, which I think is the thing that people naturally gravitate to first. But there's also the secondary card that can be just as powerful, the planetary ruling cards. They seem to have a lot of influence in a person's life. So let's talk a little bit about those cards.
Okay, so your planetary ruling card is one of the cards in your hand, and it is based on the sun sign you were born under. We're not going to get into that full detail there, but it's really easy to find your planetary ruling card, and that is on your one-stop shop page after you look up your birthday. So you can just look at your birthday on that page, and you'll find your second most important card. It's the second most influential card in your life compared with your birth card. So for example, like my birth card is a 6 of clubs, and my planetary ruling card is the 10 of clubs. So the question here is, if I find someone in my life, and I can think of one person at least, that has the 10 of clubs as their main birth card, like their birthday's card. So they have the 10 of clubs as their birth card. And an example of a celebrity relationship with this is Gwyneth Paltrow and Chris Martin. And we're actually going to analyze their stuff in the next episode. So you can check that out. But for now, Paula, what does it feel like if someone in my circle of friends or in my family or my partner has their birth card is my planetary ruling card? What does that feel like?
Okay, I'm going to explain this like vehicles. So your birth card is like your car that you drive all the time, but you have another car and you drive it sometimes. And then that other person has the same make and model of your secondary car. And so there's a familiarity with how they operate that vehicle. So there's enough differentness, but there's also a very deep understanding of how that vehicle operates.
Perfect. So is it like an easier relationship than
it does
some of these other things we've been talking about?
It does tend to be easier. However, what your sign is will have a lot to do with that. For example, if you're an Aries and your Mars card is your planetary ruler, then when you meet someone who is your Mars card, there may be like a more passion, aggression, intensity, more of a tendency to argue. If you're a Capricorn and they're your Saturn card, then yeah, there's a possibility that they're really going to challenge you to grow. But you're an Aries anyway, so you like taking action and passion and that kind of thing. So it will be a comfortable connection.
Great. Let's keep going. Let's expand it out a little bit more. We've talked about the hand that comes or goes with each card before. You can find the cards that are in your hand when you purchase your kit. And it's actually really important to check out because relationships related to those cards as well. So if you have someone in your life that has a card that also exists in your hand, then how does that affect the relationship, Paula?
Right. Okay. So astrology pops in my head here. And for those of you who know astrology, it's exactly like this. Say you have a positive aspect towards Mars in your chart. Whenever you meet an Aries, they're going to feel comfortable to you. It's exactly the same here in that every card in your hand represents an aspect of your life. So for example, if you meet someone who is your moon card, there will be an emotional safety aspect to that. Every card in your hand is an aspect of you. It's an aspect of your life. And so when you meet someone who is that card, they will reflect that aspect of your life back to you.
Yeah, the kit really breaks it down. It has you actually take your whole hand, analyze it, find the people in your life that have those cards, and that we tell you what it's like when they're Mars to you, what it's like when they're Jupiter to you. If it's that direct, they will come up when you look up your cosmic connections. So that's another way to look at that too. There's a lot more in the kit though. That's a really special, awesome thing that we put together for you. So you can check out that information on your one-stop shop page as well.
I'm going to ask the question that I'm guessing everybody wants to know. What is the ideal connection between two people?
There
Come on,
isn't
Paula.
one. There isn't one.
Oh.
Okay, I'm gonna back up and say I'll tell you what feels the best. When there's a Venus, Mars connection, there's friendship and passion. When you bring Moon in there, there's comfort and safety and security. When there's Mercury, there's a sense of mental understanding. Jupiter will bring a sense of expansion and reaching your potential. Saturn is all about growth. Pluto will challenge the hell out of you, but you'll find your destiny and your purpose after that kind of interaction. Uranus is very low intensity. So I want you guys who are watching this just to observe yourself with all of those words that I said just now. Which ones do you gravitate towards? Like, I kind of don't want to admit this, but I'm all about personal growth in this lifetime. So I really like Pluto and Saturn people in my life. I like to be challenged. If you're more about a very low intensity connection, you're going to feel more comfortable with a Uranus influence. So it's really subjective.
Yeah, and it's sort of like some of these connections, because the intensity is intense, but it can also be passionate. So there's like benefits to both, even though people might see intensity as negative, but then you have the passion. Sometimes I look at a connection of two cards and I'm like, oh, there's like no there, which maybe is great for a friendship, but you're just going to get bored.
Exactly.
Although some people like the comfort of there being no passion. So it's, yeah, impossible to tell.
Yep.
Okay, so that wraps up today's Intimate Relationships episode. We'll see you next time. Thank you for watching this episode of Dear Kismet. We would love it if you would subscribe and share. Go to our website, itiskismet.com, to learn more about the Cardology Conference in Vegas in October, to look up your card and cosmic connections, and to ask Dear Kismet a question.